What do most people get wrong when they hear operational discipline? Why does it instantly feel like bureaucracy or instantly feel like something that I don't want to do and it's going to slow me down? Well, what are we getting wrong?
Well, I think most people think of systems and operations as something that is going to confine them, that's going to constrain them, that's going to hold them back. They're not going to be able to move as fast. They're not going to be able to be as innovative. They're all of these kinds of things. It's going to be bureaucracy. We're not going to be able to do the cool, fun stuff that is the quick, fastest growing. So that's the concept that most people think, at least if you kind of instinctively. And obviously, what we're going to talk about and what you and I know is that actually systems and operations and processes like this actually free people up to be more effective and to let someone delegate and move forward, et cetera. So it's actually a way to drive innovation and growth.
Yeah, I thought it'd be fun actually to put the two definitions here at the front of our conversation. So, the first definition here being innovation, which is the structured process of turning new ideas into value through better products, faster execution, smarter systems, and new business
Yeah,
models.
yeah,
So, a lot of times we get called because an organization wants to scale, and the first thing that they look at is innovation. So, what new product can we create, or what new market can we take over, right? And then we start working with them, and then we see that they can't move as fast as maybe they should on some of those innovations, or as fast as they may want to because of bureaucracy. So the second definition here of bureaucracy is the accumulation of rules, procedures, and approval layers that slow down decision making, dilute accountability, and stifle action. When someone says, hey, we want to scale, we want to take this new market, or we're trying to grow, or we just acquired a company, if we're talking to a portco, and first thing they start looking at is revenue growth and new opportunities. And sometimes we feel like, well, maybe we should deal with some of the broken processes first, and then we
hmm
can ramp up. It doesn't matter what business you're running, you're going to need processes and systems. And at some point in
yes,
time, you're going to need
yes,
to innovate. However, the portcos have a very particular issue in that they need to hit certain, there's a clock that's ticking. So they have their 7 plus or minus year window by which they need to create value and then
yeah,
have the divestment or whatever is going to occur at that point.
right, right, right.
So they have a certain burning fire within them to hit certain targets. And because of that, there's often this need to, well, how are we going to scale? How are we going to grow? How are we going to expand? Are we going to buy our way into new markets? Are we going to create products internally? It's usually yes and both in some
Yeah,
regard. A lot of
yeah,
these organizations are legacy businesses, right? This is typically not your 2-year-old business. It's maybe your 25-year-old business, which has a lot of bureaucracy kind of built in and baked in. So as advisors, we come in with this menu of all the many things that we can do. And
yes.
we have to do this audit and discovery to figure out what's going to be the right approach for each of these organizations. One thing we know for certain is that they're dealing with some level of bureaucracy. So how do we
Yeah.
approach that conversation?
The conversation that starts with an owner or manager escalates into, if you're listening to this and you're a PE manager and you've got your portfolio companies that aren't performing to the level that you want. Again, when people look at what can we do to make this consistent, scalable, systematic, so we can innovate or grow faster or delegate quicker, the reaction from an entrepreneur, I've started many, many companies, you started many, many companies, you sat in that CEO seat and you're delegating, but you're kind of alternating between, do I slow people down? Will this slow people down, or will this free up someone so that we can actually grow faster? So I think you initially go up against that resistance to putting those things in place. And then when you realize that actually a little bit of work now, it's almost like the sharpening your axe now or taking the time now is actually going to free up. You're going to be able to delegate. You're going to be able to empower others, right? A lot of times we run into companies where they're very, very centric at the very top, right? The person that founded it or is leading the company when it's very young or new, it's early, and it's is afraid to delegate. They're afraid to pay someone who's really qualified because they might do it different. And so they're very fearful in that way. And so what I found when I can go into a company and I see that basically the founder, the owner, the CEO is doesn't trust anyone. They say they trust people, but then you look around at their actions and they actually don't trust. Then getting them clear about, well, what would that actually look like in regards to trusting someone and delegating them and acknowledging that they might do it different, but how are you going to measure it? Because it's really not about it being done different. It's about, is the outcome. The outcome could be the same, or the outcome could be better, but it just might look different. Getting them clear about what is it going to take, what's it going to be on the outside, so that you can actually delegate. What would it look like? What would you expect from them? What kind of reporting? Reporting's a big thing, right? A lot of times these companies, it's just let me know if you have any questions, right? Let me know if anything comes up, if you need any help, is there a reporting feature versus, hold on, for me to delegate, I need to know what you're doing, how we're going to measure it, and I need consistent reporting. What are you going to report on? How often? If I know that, then I don't have to bother you every day, right? I don't need to, what's going on? What's going on? How's that going, right? I can go, great. I know every Friday or every Monday or whatever, I'm going to get a report that's going to include these things in it. If I have questions about it, we can sit down, or I can request those, but it then frees me up, and it frees you up to know, hey, I'm not going to be bothered all the time. I know what I'm being evaluated on. I know what I need to report on. I know when I need to report it, and I can go ahead and do that. And when we're able to do that with companies, they immediately free up, right? And even if they were stifled there and you've got 2 people or 3 people that all feel like they want the same exact thing, but they're stuck because they haven't gotten clear. What are the responsibilities of each person? How are they going to be judged? How are they going to report? When I'm able to institute that with an organization, it's amazing the level of acceleration or growth that they're able to experience.
Yeah, we see that when we do audits.
Hmm.
If we're working with
Yeah.
an organization, we go in, we kind of do our interviews, look at the org charts, see whose roles and responsibilities. And very often and quickly, you start to see, oh, this person has just kind of been here because they've just been here. Like their role isn't very clearly defined. They might be the niece of the owner, and it's just been good enough. Good enough has been great for them, and they're never going to change it. But that person was never trained. They've
Or
never
they were the founder.
development,
They're in their role just because they started the company, period.
or they were highly skilled and highly trained 25 years ago when they got the job, and they've done very little development
Or
to
they were great when the company was 1 million, 2 million, 5 million, but have no experience and no capability to get it to 20 or 50 million.
exactly. So uh, we've seen there's a cultural shift. So maybe we should talk a little bit about the culture shift and how we help our clients navigate that cultural shift. Because I know we're working on a project right now where we're implementing a system, a new operating rhythm, and it comes with a dashboard and it comes with the accountabilities and all those kinds of things. And uh, there's obviously the natural resistance to use the tool. Some people aren't even resistant; they're just just one more tool, one more dashboard, one more thing I have to log into, and we've just done this acquisition. So, it takes time here. So, how do you like? What is your methodology for getting over this cultural conversation and creating true transformation?
I mean, I don't even know if I would call it cultural as much as I would call it really information overwhelm right now, which is what I see every day. People are just being deluged with information and are being asked to make decisions quicker than they're capable of contemplating. Maybe like a robot, they're trying to compete with this quick level of decision making and digest that. That's obviously, we're not capable of doing that. That's not what human beings are good at, right? So um, when you have that sensory that you're overwhelmed, you've got so many things to do, you've got a long to-do list, you've got an inbox, you have all of these things, you have to realize that actually the answer is the exact opposite of what you're feeling. It's slowing down and going, what is actually most important today? If I was to go to the end of today and go, if I accomplish this one thing or these 2 or 3 things, that would make this a successful day. And to do that, what would I need to do now, or what would I need to do today to do that? And then go back and schedule your day. One of the practices I have, I at the in the morning, I'll check my emails or information, any messages that came in, and go, is the day that I have planned today still, even after that information, still the right plan for today? It's not yesterday's plan, it's today's plan with the newest information. I'll then adjust some things that need to get adjusted, and then I'll go work the plan. At the end of the day, there's almost always things that didn't get done, right? There's things came up, it didn't get done. I stop before I leave and I will reschedule those things. Think about the next day. What do I want that next, based on what I know right now? What do I want that day to look like? Now, I might be rescheduling something not for tomorrow, but rescheduling and realizing that, hey, it's not for tomorrow either. It's for next week. I didn't get it done today, and it now needs to be a week out. But my kind of practice has been, and at one point I was running 3 companies. It was make a plan in the morning, work your plan in the afternoon or in the evening before you leave, clear your schedule with everything that didn't get done, reschedule it, think about tomorrow, and then do it again. And that's helped me to be free to go, I'm working my plan versus I'm reacting to all of this input that's coming in here. If people are coming into my office and saying, hey, do you have a second? I'm like, have you looked at my calendar? Hey, you have my calendar. You see what's on there. Is what you're about to ask me or we're about to talk about more important than that? And then a lot of times, they'll, oh, yeah,
Yeah,
go
well,
ahead.
and that's where having good systems can actually help
Yeah,
reduce the
definitely.
back and forth of the communication. Tools like Slack or Monday.com or project management tools, Asana, Jira, whatever you're using, and then also running more efficient meetings. So, because again, anyone that's high performing most likely has some kind of rhythm that you explained, and if you're out there and you don't,
Yeah,
go back
yeah.
and listen to that last 3 minutes and kind of build out your daily prioritization. And we work with our clients through executive coaching to help them prioritize and work with executive teams. But even after they have their priorities, we still have to track them. And that's what you're saying early. Like, how are we tracking the success of these initiatives? What do we need to kill? What needs to be added on? Again, sometimes that is a bit of a cultural shift because until we come in or until a new operating partner comes in or a new someone sells 51% plus of their company, a lot of times they're just doing it the way they've always done it. And now all of a sudden they have this new pressure on top of them to perform in a way they never have and to hit new benchmarks and have new priorities. And again, I think that's probably one of the primary value adds we add early on is giving them the infrastructure so they can feel safe to say, okay, cool, let's get all of our initiatives here and we know how and when.
Right. Everything is not the most important, right? So, again, one of the things we like to do is come in and go, okay, what is actually the most important? The things that are going to deliver the highest value, the highest acceleration of growth. Clarify what those are, and actually then create the reporting on those and make those visible to everybody, right? Everyone needs to know if these are the most important things. They've got to be in front. They've got to be sitting there and at a certain time every week or every day or even real time if you have the capability to do that. So it's like these are the 3 or 5 most important things we need to be looking at that move the needle, and everyone knows what they are. And then when you sit down with someone, if you go, oh, have you looked at the dashboards lately? What do you think about that? Is there anything irrelevant to what you're working on or not working on that could move the needle there? What's stopping you from doing that? So it's very clear and specific around that outcome, right? Clear dashboards or goals or reporting, clear conversations about action that's going to move the needle versus everything being important or nothing being important. That's where that information overload uh, is experienced a lot of the time, right? We've got these devices like a mobile phone where you're like, oh, I'm going to be able to be really, really, really effective now. No, you're not. Now you're going to be less effective because you're constantly being distracted by what's important. You can't even do creative work because you're constantly trying to flip back and forth, not having the discipline to go, let me check that. Let me block off some creative time to do creative work, to get in a creative space. I don't need to check my messages every 90 seconds, right? And so just kind of building those habits and recognizing what's important, working the plan. That's how I've done it. And when I've seen people succeed, that's what they were doing. And I've seen a lot of people not succeed and companies that are failing from the top down. CEO, you sit down with that person and you go, tell me about your business. Tell me what's not working. What do you do about that? And they usually are, you can hear a pin drop. They haven't solved it for themselves. And so no one else has solved it.
Well, there's also this scenario where we do implement new operating rhythms, new systems, work with the team, but the founder, because of, we could call it founder disease, part of the founder disease, they just have to put their hands on everything. They have to control everything. And then they go and just kind of mess it all up again and send everyone off on their own way. And then we've just wasted, sometimes 3, 6 months where the systems are still in place, but the owner is kind of stepping in and people are, circumventing other people and going back up to the founder or jumping over their
Right.
manager, right?
But
So,
yeah.
like, from a trench work standpoint, right? We've
Yes.
implemented a lot of these things and seen this.
Yes. Yes.
Is there a lightweight system that you kind of go to first? Like one of the first things that you look to implement? I know you're talking about prioritizing, but is there like a tool or a methodology that you'd like to jump to first?
Well, usually for me, it's I want to interview the senior management, and I want to make sure that they all are able to communicate what the most important priorities are, and secondly, what they're doing to influence them, because at least half the time they can't do that. The senior management is saying completely different things, and they're not clear about what they're doing to move the needle on those things. They're just working hard. It's busyness, right, versus business. They're not in business. Um, that's what they're doing. So it's about then stopping and going, okay, well, what would it look like for you to actually do things to move the needle if you now knew what they were? It again, it's clarifying. It's being able to delegate a lot of it. Again, what I find right now is people are overwhelmed most of the time. And do you have a founder who started with whatever, they had a handful of people, they had 1, 2, 3 people, whatever, and now they have 20, 30 people. They're a portco, they're trying to grow, but they don't have the systems. They don't even have the thinking to develop the systems. And if the PE is waiting for this company to somehow fix itself or work that out or magically know how to get themselves out of the way, that's dangerous. And I mean, that's the kind of thing where we like to come in, right, to a company like that and go, listen, let us structure you for innovation, for growth. Let's bring you those tools and things that you don't have from an outside perspective. Get in, get out, and prepare you for the growth that is probably being expected of you from your private equity partner. They're super happy because it's information they didn't know. They didn't even know how to get there. And we're able to do it. You and I both been CEOs. We're able to do it because we've sat there in their chair and we can go, listen, 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 listen. I'm like you. This is why I'm telling you this. I'm not trying to take over your company. I'm not trying to tell you you're doing anything wrong. I'm trying to support you and being better at doing what you're trying to do right there. And because we have that shared history, that relatability, I find that I'm trusted often. People
Yeah.
people will trust me and they'll talk to me.
Yeah. Well, you're coming at it from a business health standpoint, which is, I know what it feels like. After interviewing hundreds of executives as we have, we start to see certain themes. One of the tools that I like to use is I like to look for the person that has good operating processes and procedures, good systems, good methodologies for how they prioritize everything you're talking about, how they lead their team. Someone has good like vision, they're tied in culturally, they're a mensch in some regards. People look to them, they respect them. When I find that person out of a sea of, let's say we're interviewing 20 executives, those are the people I like to latch on and make internal champions. And very often, there are the people that are already kind of the internal champions. So if we're going to implement some new program or system or what have you, very often they're the first ones to adapt it and the first ones that people will look towards to get support. And it just helps the process move a little quicker and smoother because and sometimes they need an external champion to
Yeah,
champion them and to
yeah.
deputize them and to give them, some of the keys. And working with management and the leadership team, very often we
Mhm.
kind of get to the same spot, quickly on
Yeah.
that.
Well, and they've given, in many cases, someone who had an idea on how to improve things or something that could be added. If they weren't in the right seat or talking to the right person, or maybe they were talking to the right person, but it was the wrong time and they got the
Mhm.
wrong response, right? Hey, 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 do you have a second? Can I share something with you? No, I'm busy. And then they're like, oh, well, this doesn't matter, right? I don't matter, right? And then they shut down and we're able to go through that process of going, hey, hey, what should the company be doing the company's not doing right now from your seat on the
Yeah.
bus,
And
right?
very often we'll talk to executives and they'll say, Their tonality is, I'm just doing my job.
Yeah.
Right. And some
Yeah.
people say, "Oh, I got this big vision and we could be doing this and I have all
Hmm.
these ideas." And you have these two people and a lot of times we're talking to 10 people at the same time. It just makes sense to listen more intently and deeper. And maybe that person who feels like, "Oh, I'm just doing my job," had gotten beat down. And maybe they really have good ideas. It's just no one's listened to them for years and years and years, so they feel unheard. They say employee recognition is at the top of the totem pole for why people stay at organizations. The attaboy, the pat on the back, and the good job.
Hmm.
If we kind of pivot the conversation a little bit about channeling innovation, I know we've been talking a lot about process. What is the framework by which we help our clients pick some of the best ideas and then implement them?
Well, it's having a plan, right? An innovation plan, right? We like to say, right, give them guardrails, right? Give them guardrails, not handcuffs. Don't tell them they can't do it. Tell them how they can do it, right? Give them a structure. What do you want to do? How long is it going to take? What's it going to cost? How are we going to measure it? And so they have the ability to try out new things and quickly know exactly how it's being judged and kill it or scale it, right? So
Yeah. Well,
it's having a
let's talk
plan.
about the kill switch a little bit.
Yes, yes.
What does it look like? How does one implement a kill switch? What does that look like?
Well, I think it starts at the beginning.
Mm,
You have to go, what do we need to accomplish or see in what time frame? There needs to be agreement, and then go and if that it's not, we're going to kill it. So it's actually not decided in the emotion of the end after you've been working on it for 6 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 months, whatever, and then you're attached to it, right? And you're emotional, and you're trying to have a conversation about killing your baby at this time versus no, no, no. This isn't your baby. This is an innovation right now. We're going to do it. It's not even going to be. It's not even going to be birth. The birth comes at the assessment stage, right? Whenever it is, we say, "Okay, you're going to do this for 3 months. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to measure it." And in 3 months, we'll decide if we're going to actually give birth to this. This is a gestation, right? Period, right now,
sunken
and that
cost,
gets confused.
the
What's that?
the emotions of the sunken cost
Yeah, well, the attachment, right,
attached.
that everyone has because you haven't decided at the start. And I think you do that once or twice, and people they just quit out, right? So that's why having kind of a strategy going, okay, we are going to, as a company, we say we're an innovative company. We're going to take on 2 innovations a quarter, and we're going to pick them as a team. Someone's going to run them. We're going to be clear on how we measure them and how we kill them, or if they're not killed, how we're going to assess and then plan the scale. Because you don't want to plan the scale too early. You basically want to say, let's test and go, is this a scalable idea that we need to put more time, money, and effort behind, and then go scale it. So it's the missing at the front. People want to jump in too quick, right? Without going, whoa, whoa, whoa. We'll do it, but part of the process is let's plan the innovation stage. Let's have these again guardrails. Let's have this path. This is what we're going to look for. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're trying to achieve. How we're going to measure it. And if this doesn't happen, it's going to die. People are not as attached and not as emotional at the start, and they can agree to that.
Yeah, yeah. What we also see in these legacy-based businesses is, let's take an organization that may have been around for 30 something years. It's very possible that they were an innovative company in the early 2000s when they decided to hire a team of developers to build some custom product for them internally. And over the course of 20 years, they've been investing and investing and investing in their internal IP and their tool, as they should have so many years ago. But
Mm-hmm.
because innovation technology moves so fast, it's very possible that what they've invested $500,000 to $1 million in, you can buy off the shelf for $99 a month now in some
Yes.
subscription, right? So there's this sunken
Yes.
cost of, well, we have a dev team that's been working on it. You're like, right, but it may not have all the functionality. It leads me to this idea of ROI versus COI, the return on investment versus the cost of inaction. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like, very often the client gets stuck in like, well, the only way I'm going to continue to realize my ROI on this is if we continue to use it. And we're saying, well, there's a cost of inaction. There's a cost of staying with the old tool that doesn't have any of the functionality. You're bringing on new teams. New employees expect a faster moving ecosystem, right? MS-DOS and like these old tools, they just, the young talent doesn't get it.
MS who?
Yeah, exactly, right? So there's a whole concept around the sunken costs and innovation. And I love this idea that you're putting out there of saying, starting at the end, knowing what we're trying to achieve within what period of time, what our budget, who our team is going to be, and then at which point we are then going to make decisions. I like the idea of small bets and playing games. So what game are we playing and how can we have these little mini wins that stack? And if we're not getting the wins, then the writing's on the wall, but at least we're creating the space for that.
No, I agree. I agree. Again, it comes down to having a plan, even for innovation, right?
Hmm.
Communicating clearly, have an agreement up front when it's not emotional, there's less attachment. That's what works.
So from a value creation lens for the PE firms,
Hmm.
why does operational discipline drive higher exit multiples? How does what we're talking about here with operational discipline drive the exit price up?
Well, valuation, right, is often tied to reliability, consistency, repeatability, right, recurring, and that's not human. None of those things are the human, the natural human, skill set. So uh, creating these things provide that consistency. They provide the thing when someone's looking at your business, they want to see the consistency, right? Okay, year over year growth, higher retention, right? Lower churn. Like they're looking at that. You need to be measuring those things and being able to tell, well, this is what we did to affect this higher or affect this lower, depending on what the outcome was. And this is the system. Because if you can't tell someone what you did to accomplish it, then they're like, well, was that just random or was that just luck? Yeah, you grew. Well, why did you grow? What was it, what made it a success? What did you learn about the customer? What did you learn about the market? If you don't have that information, um, then you likely can't perform consistently. It might have been a fluke. And so I think that's where operations and processes and systems create scalability. They create the ability to have replicatable innovation or ongoing innovation because you have a process for it. The ability to delegate so you can do more with less people. You can build trust. You can have communication. And these things in a company that has systems and operations and processes. And that's how it unleashes the value, right? If a company comes and wants to buy another company, they want to know what do they do, right? What are their systems? What are their processes? Um, and that is a key component. So I think
Right.
when we're able to go in,
If we're to buy this company, how much of a lift is it for us to own them and continue to scale it versus own them and them have to fix all their problems?
right, or what if we lose some key people during this
Or
transition
that's
because the culture changes and we don't, and this isn't a process. We can't train someone to do the process. It was built around a personality.
yeah.
Um, So yeah, I mean, obviously value that is part of the value. I know. I mean, obviously PE knows this. They know this. We're preaching to the choir here. The question is having the time to be able to go do this
Mhm.
for your portfolio companies, making sure that they're building repeatable systems and operations and growth, and they're able to scale and they have these things in place. That's what we find is often missing. It's not the knowledge. You know this. They know this. It's the time to do it and the ability to do it and realize that this could be the difference between getting that multiple that you're looking for.
Well, it's also extending their team, which is why I think a lot of our partners work with our firm is because they have finite time. And we've been talking about delegating and bringing in smart people and having them do what they specialize in. So, everybody wants growth, right? And people can only hire so fast, and some people get bogged down with projects. So when you work with an external firm, which is a really good question here about what is the benefit for a private equity firm to hire an external firm versus to try to tackle this on their own?
Well, you get people like us that can come right in and have a process for assessing it, implementing it, and having it be successful most of the time. Versus you want to do it internally while you're learning all of the same stuff the hard way, the long way, the most expensive way. So you bring someone else, we can do in 3 months what it might take a team a couple years to do. So if speed is important, if you're on a window, like you said, if you're on the clock, you need this company to scale. You're going to put X amount of money, this number of tranches in, otherwise you're going to pull the plug or you're going to merge it with another company. So time is of the essence, right? So bringing in someone like us that can work with a company for 3 months, 6 months, and go implement this, this experience, this knowledge that we see is, successful. It's about speed, it's about speed to scale.
Yeah. What are some signs that we know it's working? Once this, whatever we've operated, implemented from an operating standpoint, systems, process, procedures, the innovation element, what does it look like? What are the signs that this is working?
Well, usually people can report clearly. I mean, there's a lightness because people are not having to manage these things in their head. But they can report when you ask them a question. Okay, what are you working on? Why are you working on that? How is that doing? How are you measuring that? Are you going to continue? Is there anything you need to tweak? They're very clear. They're clear what they're doing, why they're doing it, how it's impacting them. You can only have that clarity when you have some sort of operation or process. So, and then they start to, I mean, uh, disagreements go down, trust goes up. There's better communication now because people are communicating clearly with guardrails, with an understanding ahead of time. So all of a sudden they're like, oh, this is what we were trying to do, which is let's create a company where there's trust, there's communication, there's freedom, there's innovation we can explore. Um, and it's normally wrapped around having some operations and processes would free us up to do that. So yeah, when we implement that, that's normally what I see. I
Yeah.
look back a month, 2, 3 months later, and the CEO is happy. They're lighter. They've delegated more. The company's flowing more.
Yeah. I would add to that, to the clarity element, there becomes a unified alignment. You can hear
Hmm.
the shared language. People start to use
Yeah.
similar terms and they start to kind of share a vision, whether or not it's like, the vision board and, the macro one, maybe even it's just a micro vision, but people start to, there's an energy that you can kind of feel. Um, and then I would say the most important piece is that we start seeing action items being checked off the list. We just see execution move at a faster rate, whereas things maybe have like been stalled due to bureaucracy, which is where we started this conversation. So, as we round this out, what would you say is your message to the operating partners of portfolio companies, those that they know they have challenges, they know they have problems, they haven't found the team or haven't found the right path towards executing everything that we've been talking about? What would you say to them?
Well, I would say you should probably give us a call and let us assess the situation and let you know how we can impact it. I think that um, obviously time and speed have costs, and so bringing in experts, especially people like the two of us, we've been in the trenches. This isn't like coming out of some sort of MBA class. This is coming out of actually building companies and selling companies and knowing what it's like. So I think we bring an authority and an experience that allows us to be more effective than most. And I don't look at myself as a consultant and them as the client. I look at us as colleagues on this journey to grow something. I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and my relationship to other entrepreneurs or CEOs that are struggling with these things and unlocking the people component, unlocking the business potential. I love to be able to do that. So I would say, yeah, think about how process in operations actually unlocks people's happiness, innovation, success, and ultimately growth, speed, and scale.
What would you say to the founder of a PE backed company who knows they need this and they want to take this conversation to their operating partner at the PE? How would you help them frame this conversation?
Well, that usually becomes more complicated because they have to actually acknowledge that they don't have everything to get where they're trying to get as quickly as they want or as quickly as expected of them, right? And so it starts with going again, mirroring the goal. Okay, we're trying to get to this spot by 36 months, and for us to do that, and we know that that's important, it would make sense to bring in some hired guns or experienced entrepreneurs or experienced CEOs that could come in that are willing to um, guide us a little bit from the future who've gone there. I think that again, as a CEO, I'm talking to the uh, operating partner, and I'm saying, listen, what I want to acknowledge is we can probably get there, but if we want to get there on time and then we want to get there as fast or maybe faster, we should probably invest right now in bringing in some experienced individuals that can help us do that.
Okay. Mr. Burkharder, excellent.
Yes.
Thank you. Appreciate your time. If you're new to this show, please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks for having me.